In this video, I'm going to be doing a quick video about voiceovers. Now, during the time I have been spending filming my film, researching my film, and editing my film, I've come to the conclusion that I will going to be using voiceover. Now, voiceover is actually used in quite a few thriller films. For example, some of the ones I researched, it was actually in Seven, which I was surprised about. It's in Kong Skull Island a little bit, which is more of an action film. Memento, the butterfly, not Memento, the butterfly effect is what I meant to say. So it's in quite a wide range of films. Now, going more into detail about the voiceover, obviously it will be non-diegetic. Now, this is not so the characters won't be able to hear. What I want to make clear is that even though I'm going to be using a non-diegetic voiceover, does not mean that I will not be using dialogue, diegetic dialogue. Diegetic dialogue will be used in my thriller film. However, through the research that I've done into voiceovers, it seems a clear conclusion for me is that it's a great way to describe your film storyline to your audience. Now, something I suffered in AS level was failing to adapt the story to the opening. We had to do an opening 2 minutes, and the reason why it didn't turn out as well as I hoped is because I planned a massive storyline, but it didn't really. The opening was linked into the rest of the storyline, and without watching the rest of the full film, you didn't understand the opening 2 minutes, which is why it didn't really work. So I feel that to stop myself falling into that trap, like I did last year, and obviously it's a trailer, so I don't get to show the whole film again. If I use a voiceover and describe some things that happened previous to the film and stuff that happens later on in the film, it will become clear to the audience what is actually going on. So to do this, I decided to use my protagonist, John, in the film. He does all the diegetic dialogue. Non-diegetic voiceover, sorry. Now, the reason I chose to use John is because John is my main character of the film. So, obviously, because John is such a... he's the poster boy for the film. He's going to be featured on the magazine front cover, the poster. It makes sense to link him in to not only being the most shown in my trailer, but to have the voiceover. Now, I plan to use the voiceover quite a lot, because I feel that if used correctly, in the right places, it will make the story flow. Now, this does not mean that in every single scene there'll be a voiceover, and it does not mean it should overpower the music. However, at the start of the trailer, maybe a line at the end of the trailer, and definitely a little bit in the middle, as long as showing some action scenes as well, it could be quite good. Now, I plan to use the voiceover, as I said, at the beginning, a little bit in the middle, and at the end. During the action scenes, which all trailers have, there will be no voiceover. It will just be music. This is the decision I decided to make because if you use a voiceover during action scenes, I feel that it can take away from the action being portrayed on screen. So, for example, when John's beating up some bad guys, I feel as his voice was playing over the top, it could distract from what's happening on screen. Whereas if you have some nice loud music to go with the punches, I think that it can be work wonders, basically. Another thing about the voiceover is that it will have a very intense vibe to it, and it will just be John. The reason why I point out that it will just be John is that in quite a few thriller film trailers, especially the butterfly effect, they used one at the beginning and one at the end of the classic thriller film deep dark voiceover that has the same voice in nearly every single trailer, and they also had non-diegetic voiceover of the main character. And though it's not that hard to understand, it did confuse me at first, and I don't want that to happen to my audience. I just want it to be clear that John is the one talking and they're finding out more about his character. And also, because if John is talking to the audience, it will allow them to connect with John more. So, because they're finding out about his past, about what he's doing, what and why he's doing it, and what does happen is left up to a mystery. They understand his way of viewing at things. They become attached to him. Because another main thing about my plotline is that John is not a good guy. He states that he just does what he has to do to get through. So he's not a good guy. However, he has the right morals. So if they see the point of view from John's side of the film, they're more likely to, get along with John and become become better friends. You could say that between the audience, there'd be a connection for them to be friends with the protagonist. The voiceover was inspired by Kong Skull Island originally, and as I said, because it describes the storyline, I didn't want to focus too heavily on it when filming, but it came to the conclusion that because I have a fairly complex story, because thriller films need to be kept new and fresh, it made sense to use a voiceover to describe to the audience what was going on, but at the same time not to reveal too much about the story, because revealing too much about the story could lead for the audience to find out, as I said, too much, and they just wouldn't want to come and see the film because they feel like they've seen it all from the trailer. However, as I said, if it's used in the right places, the voiceover is going to be very effective. And that's all this video is. It was a confirmation that I will be using a voiceover, my reasons for using that voiceover and how I'll use it, and as I'll just quickly go on to how I'll use it, I've said the positionings that I'll use it in. It's purely because I want the audience to connect with my character, to understand the story, and to create a more intense atmosphere to aid the music. So because I am not a music person, I focus on more drama and cinematography media. Music isn't something that I particularly am good at, and because of this and this disadvantage, and I wouldn't be able to get anyone to make it for me, if I have a voiceover, it kind of takes away from the music a little bit. So the voiceover is the main thing rather than the music, which is one of more of my strengths than music. So there is reasoning behind using the voiceover. And obviously, as I said, this video was just to confirm, to show my reasonings for using the voiceover and how we use it. And just to say that I think that a voiceover is a really good thing to use in thriller films. It seems to be overlooked, is what I thought, because at the start I thought I was not going to use a voiceover at all. But through research of thriller films, watching numerous thriller film trailers, I've come to the conclusion that the voiceover is used quite a lot. It's 9 times out of 10 non-diegetic, which is easier for me because it just means you don't have to link it into the clip. He needs to be taught. He will be talking about what's happening in the clip will relate to what John is saying, but in a broader scale. For example, so many have betrayed me, they all must fall, and it shows a guy, you know, him beating up a guy. It, as I said, it links into what he's saying, but it looks at the bigger, broader picture, and because obviously he says several men and it's him killing one guy. That's just a basic example of what the voiceover is. So that's all to talk about. The voiceover will be used in my thriller film trailer. I think it's a brilliant investment to use. I think that it will work wonders in my trailer in describing the storyline to my audience and overall making the trailer make more sense and overall more enjoyable. The Whispers of Yesterday trailer will be more enjoyable for my audience and viewers to watch.